Ayanda?
Best Smiley.
Very good afternoon to you. And certainly quite a busy day for the IEC officials here. Most importantly as well, law enforcement agencies, since we've been reporting this morning, yet again after the wave of protests in different parts of the province, waking up to service delivery protests again here in the province of KwaZulu-Natal this morning, requiring additional deployment of police officials in those areas. But from the security point, Nompo, the security agencies have been continuously updating us, saying that they have enough members on the ground. They've identified areas that are tense at the moment, where they are extremely volatile. Yes, they are concerned about these increasing number of demonstrations that are now seem to be in some areas rather well coordinated, but saying that they have enough manpower, and they also have additional pools where in certain areas they are finding that they then need those reinforcements. In terms of the IEC, as we know that it's now 5 hours away from the 5 p.m. cut-off time, and some of the delays caused by the demonstrations have meant that in certain parts IEC officials have started rather late to conduct the home visits, as well as the blockages where some voters were intended to cast their special votes being unable to get to their voting stations. The IEC had, as early as yesterday, said here, particularly in KZN, that looking at the high number of applications that they received, over 100,000 people who had made applications for special votes, that because of the disruptions that started yesterday and today, they were unlikely that they were going to be able to visit, to make all those home visits, as well as there's about over 30,000 people that were going to be making their way to the voting station. So a lot of concern, Nompo, around the service delivery protests. We're also receiving information that there has been threats on IEC officials in Alfred Duma, which is in the Midlands, in Mkanyogote and Zululand area, which is in the northern parts of KwaZulu-Natal. And so security around protecting the IEC officials has also been increased, we understand. There's also some concern that trucks were blocking the highways, the N3 and the N2. We are told that police officials on there. So in terms of the IEC, a lot of concern around these service delivery protests, particularly the concern now is tomorrow and what is going to transpire tomorrow. But just speaking about what has been happening here in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, it was expected. Law enforcement agencies had said that they had already, through the intelligence, gathered information that we could have seen protests in certain areas, but some saying not to the extent that we've seen over the last 2 days. But I'm now joined by our independent political analyst, my precious Lukayeni. Thank you very much, my precious, for your time. You'll be with us, of course, today and tomorrow and Thursday when we unpack the results. But we've been speaking to you critically. We've been seeing the IEC officials rather worried about this wave of public protests that we've seen now in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, threatening. And I suppose the big concern now is what's going to happen tomorrow.
Well, thank you, Ayanda. I think the issue of protest is worrying. It should worry everybody. However, we cannot underplay the importance of the things that people are complaining about. Some of the things that people are complaining about should have been resolved long ago. However, the protests today and tomorrow in particular are actually disturbing the elections. And the elections are a national issue. And also we are disturbing the rights of other people who want to go and vote. But this is a lesson for us as a country to resolve problems as speedily as possible. Those protests, for example, in eThekwini, where people are complaining about salaries, for example, that's a matter that should have been resolved earlier. And also, they are using this time because the employer is at its weakest now. So I think it's something that we should learn from. But the issues that people are complaining about, those are the issues that should have been resolved long ago.
The work of, particularly, let's speak now about the government of KwaZulu-Natal, saying that they've been trying, they've been going out. Do you think it was possibly a little too late? Let's take the eThekwini issue, for example. It's a matter that has been raised for quite some time. Workers were waiting for them to resolve and find out as to how MK soldiers could be given more money than other workers. And suddenly now, just days before we are to go to the elections, we now see workers down tools.
I think the intervention was a little too late. because as I said earlier, this matter should have been resolved long ago. And also people should have seen that if they increase the salaries of the MK veterans, that will cause dissatisfaction and unhappiness amongst other workers. So that is a matter that should have been resolved earlier. But I think also the homework was not done properly in terms of dealing with the MK veterans.
Safety and security has always been a problem in KwaZulu-Natal. You know our history of violence. We're now speaking about threats and attacks on IEC officials. As opposed to even looking beyond these public protests, there is also other security concerns. There was a shooting in Escort, and the worry that KwaZulu-Natal should not find itself back in this very deep and dark past that it comes from.
Not necessarily even a dark past, it's a very recent past. You will recall that a few days ago, one of the ANC Youth League guys was gunned down in Echongweni, which will be unfortunate. We shouldn't go back there. But also it's worrying that 25 years later, we still shoot each other and we still can't resolve our problems by talking and negotiating or whatever. It's worrying, honestly. Even the IEC said the KwaZulu-Natal will be the hotspot and they will deploy as many police as possible, which we shouldn't be doing that 25 years later.
All right. Ma'am Precious, thank you very much for your time. We're going to leave it there. I know you're going to be joining us throughout our election coverage as we'll be based here at the Results Operating Centre in Durban. Certainly, we're still going to be monitoring the situation there, Nompo, on the ground. We're hoping again to speak to our analyst on tolerance later on here in KwaZulu-Natal, which seems to be another issue now that authorities here are going to be faced with. In about 30 minutes' time, we will be getting a briefing from the IEC on the latest with regards to the special votes, how many votes they were able to get through yesterday, and what the picture is looking like on the ground today. They will not be able to extend the hours. 5 o'clock is the cutoff time, they have said, and already they've said that those people who will be unable, where the IEC officials were unable to get today, that they make special arrangements for those voters to get to the voting stations tomorrow. But we are here at the Results Operating Centre, and we'll be continuously giving you information that is coming out of not only here but across the province of KwaZulu-Natal. I'm going to leave it now here, Nompu, and back to you.
Thanks very much for that, Ayanda.